Revealed, 10 spine-chilling cryptid encounters in Kentucky's haunted Appalachian shadows. Clara had heard the stories, the hushed whispers among the townsfolk at the diner as she served coffee and pie. "Did you hear about the glowing eyes in the woods?" they'd say. "You see them, you're done for." But night after night, alone on those twisted, unlit roads leading home to her small house in Pine Hollow, she brushed off such tales. She had to. There was no room for fear when her children depended on her. But lately, something felt off. Her kids, Anna and Sam, had started coming home late, their faces pale, their wild laughter laced with something darker. She'd catch them staring out the window, eyes wide, talking in hushed tones about shadows creeping through the trees. "Mom, did you see it?" Anna would whisper, her voice trembling. Clara's heart would clench. "It's just your imagination, sweetie." Yet on one particularly harrowing night, as Clara pulled into her driveway, she noticed something peculiar about the trees lining their yard. Symbols, strange, intricate carvings etched into the bark, pulsed with a menacing energy in the ghostly moonlight. A chill seeped into her bones, a shadow she couldn't shake. Determined to make sense of it, she reached out to Rick, her neighbor, who claimed expertise in Pine Hollow's many haunting legends. His eyes danced with fervor as he recounted spine-chilling encounters with creatures lurking just beyond sight. "The apparition of Pine Hollow," he'd declare, "is one of the meaner ones. It feeds off fear, lives in darkness." Clara nodded, but unease brewed in her stomach. Something felt off about Rick, a predatory edge to his helpfulness that made her skin crawl. With each passing night, Clara found herself battling a growing fear. The winds howled, carrying whispers that slithered through her mind. What if the stories were real? What if the shadows were not just figments but dangers lurking, waiting? When Sam and Anna disappeared one evening into the woods after dinner, her heart dropped. "Kids! Where are you?" Her voice echoed but was swallowed by the silence. Panic took hold when she noticed the fog rolling in, thickening from the shadows. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she dashed deeper into the woods, the feeling of being hunted hung heavy in the air. The trees loomed, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers threatening to ensnare her. "Anna! Sam!" Her voice broke, fear coursing through her veins like ice. Then a flicker of movement. She spun around, heart racing, breath hitching. Whatever watched, it was near, cloaked in darkness, waiting. Rick's words echoed in her mind. The tales were not mere fabrications, they were warnings. Clara realized the danger lurking outside was only an echo of the threat nesting within Pine Hollow, the kind she hadn't truly believed until now. Something lurked not just in the shadows but within the very fabric of her life. Shadows danced around her, closing in a menacing, unrelenting force. Could she trust anyone? And just what had awakened in the forest? The darkness felt alive, and Clara was not alone. Clara's breath came in quick, sharp gasps as she stumbled further into the embrace of the woods. Each step felt treacherous, the ground seemed to shift beneath her feet, roots snaring her ankles like fingers reaching from the grave. She shouted her children's names again, her voice echoing into the oppressive dark. The trees whispered back, an unsettling melody that sent a new wave of terror crashing over her. She strained to listen. Was that a giggle? Or a cry? The sounds twisted in the air, mixed and distorted by the fog. Clara's heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a trapped animal. She could feel the shadows coiling closer, as if some unseen creature relished her mounting fear. The moonlight flickered awkwardly through the branches, casting jagged shapes that seemed to writhe and reach for her. She remembered Anna's wide eyes, the way they sparkled with something that curled around Clara's gut. Was her daughter's laughter truly innocent, or a call to something darker? "Mom!" A voice rang out from somewhere nearby. It was Anna. Clara froze, the sound slicing through the fog. But confusion soon replaced relief. It sounded wrong, high-pitched and mocking. Desperately, she dashed towards the sound, calling out, "Honey, where are you?" Anxiety knotted her stomach. As she ran, she saw the twisted trunks of trees, their bark glistening with the same markings she noted at home. They seemed to pulse, almost as if breathing. Was the forest alive? Clara rounded a particularly gnarled oak and nearly stumbled over a dark shape half hidden beneath the fog. It was a twitching animal, a deer? No, its eyes glowed unnaturally, red-hot coals in a pale face. The creature's legs jerked in spasms, a macabre dance of death. A cold shiver jolted through her. "Stay away!" The word seemed to echo from deep within the woods, a chill wrapping around her. The atmosphere grew electric, weightier, and she felt the pull of an unseen force. Then another sound. "Help us, Mom!" This time from Sam. Clara felt raw terror surge through her veins. With a guttural scream, she lunged toward the fabric of the forest, the urgency of a mother's instinct blazing through her fear. "Where are you?" "I'm coming." As she ran deeper, the whispering trees began to shift and sway, they seemed to close ranks behind her, sealing her in this nightmarish maze. Shadows leapt around her, playfully taunting her, leading her dangerously astray. Just ahead, she caught flickers of light. The glow danced like forlorn fireflies. Was it her children, beckoning her closer into the abyss? But dread mingled with hope as she raced forward. What if they weren't alive anymore? What if whatever was out here had found them first? Suddenly, Clara skidded to a halt. Ahead of her stood the hollow of an ancient tree, wide and gaping, like an open mouth waiting to swallow her whole. At its feet, glowing symbols intertwined like serpents, pulsing with a life of their own. The voices Anna's and Sam's echoed again, entwined in a chorus that made her stomach twist. "Mom, come play!" And then an ominous silence fell. The air grew thick, pressing in on her. Clara felt the weight of countless eyes, watching, waiting. "Stay away!" she shouted, pressing against the rough bark of the tree as if it could shield her. But something inside the hollow stirred. Shadowy forms crawled from within, coiling like smoke. With a gasp, she turned to flee but found the path behind her vanished. A piercing laugh echoed, sharp and taunting, and shadows loomed closer. Panic gripped her. What was waiting for her in the dark? And were her children beyond that tree, or deeply entwined within its haunting secrets? Clara stood frozen, the dread settling deeply in her bones. The night was far from over. The darkness seemed to pulse, another heartbeat echoing in the stillness, answering her with a deep, foreboding promise, and in that heart-stopping moment, she realized the forest was hungry. Clara trembled as she stood before the ancient tree, disbelief wrapping around her like the fog swirling at her feet. The laughter of her children echoed in her ears, mingling with the sinister whispers of the woods. Her heart thundered in her chest, raw fear clawing at her throat as she dared to peek into the gaping hollow. What if they were inside? What if they needed her? But what if something else lurked within, waiting and watching? A low growl rippled through the air, sending fresh chills racing down her spine. Clara stepped back, her back pressed against the rough bark, hands shaking at her sides. The moon cast elongated shadows that danced across the forest floor, taunting her retreat. "Anna! Sam!" Her voice broke with desperation, yet only the chilling laughter responded, echoing and twisting deeper into the shadows. The glowing symbols began to change, shifting and contorting into grotesque forms that resembled faces screaming, mocking faces of emotions long buried. What kind of magic, what kind of evil was alive in this cursed wood? Clara's belief in the ordinary shattered like glass, leaving shards of dread piercing through her. In an instant, a soft thud resonated nearby. Clara turned to see the unmistakable outline of a child, or was it? The silhouette flickered and morphed as if caught between this world and another. "Come play with me," it beckoned, but the voice though innocent caught like barbed wire in Clara's gut. "No!" Clara shouted, scrambling to the side. She couldn't afford to get lost in the trance of that voice. She had been spiraling into this dark allure, but clarity burst through as she recalled the terror gripping her heart. The forest hungered, and it wouldn't stop until it had feasted. Panic ignited within her. With her back still to the ancient tree, she searched for another escape. But the forest felt alive now, an entity tightening its coil around her. The shadows shifted menacingly, twisting and vaporizing, creating new horrors with every blink of her eye. She felt them closing in. "Mom! Help!" The cry came again, clearer this time but laced with an unreal cadence, twisting her insides. Clara turned desperately toward the sound, the grip of fear lessened instead by a surge of instinct. Where are you?" she screamed, her voice breaking through the suffocating silence. Rushing along an unfamiliar path, her hands brushed against ferns that shivered and twisted like skeletal fingers. With every step, the trees leaned closer, their branches stretching out like clawed hands. Suddenly, light burst through the trees. A soft, flickering glow beckoned from deeper within, illuminating a small clearing. Clara pushed through, her heart racing with a mix of hope and dread. The moment she broke through the last cluster of thorns, she froze. Before her lay a circle of children giggling, their silhouettes shining with an ethereal glow. Their faces were eerily smooth, as if molded from wax. Anna and Sam were among them, their eyes locked on Clara, wide with a confusing blend of gaiety and something deeper, darker. "Mom! Join us!" Anna extended her hand, but all Clara could see were the shadows writhing beneath the children's feet, the forest willing to trade their innocence for something far worse. "No! Get away from them!" Clara screamed, and a fork of terror split the air. The air pulsed violently, and the trees echoed with a shriek that rippled through the woods. The children turned, their smiles fading, replaced by blank stares, their bodies rigid. With a deep breath, Clara gathered her strength. Trapping the fear with every ounce of will she could muster, she lunged forward. But as she dashed into the circle, shadows spiraled up around her, dark tendrils grasping at her limbs. The voices shifted into a chaotic chorus, drowning Clara's thoughts. She felt herself being torn in every direction, a battle between light and darkness. What lay ahead, a rescue or even deeper despair? Struggling against the weight of the shadows threatening to consume her, she heard Sam's voice once more, "Mom, help us!" And as she fought against the pull, a chilling realization gripped her. The forest was not merely hungry, it was now feasting upon her very fear, an insatiable appetite growing ever more desperate. What would Clara sacrifice to save her children from the horrors entwined in the ancient woods? As she felt the darkness closing in, her heart pounded with an unsettling truth: she might not be able to fight the inevitable. And somewhere deep within, a silent scream echoed back, drowning out even her pain with the knowledge that the hunger of the forest was only just beginning. Clara's heart thundered as the shadows writhed around her, straining to pull her deeper into their darkness. The children's laughter twisted into a haunting echo, morphing into shrieks mingled with despair. She felt their tiny hands grasping at her, pulling her toward the glow that beckoned with malevolent intent. "Mom, help us!" Sam's voice drifted like smoke, thin and fraying. Clara fought against its pull, desperation clawing at her throat. It was a trap. She could feel it in every fiber of her being. The innocence of the children shined pure and bright, yes, but something sinister lurked beneath the surface. The forest watched with hungry eyes. "Let them go!" she shouted, the urgency of her voice cutting through the malevolent air. But the shadows only tightened their grip, wrapping around her wrists, slicing into her skin like icy knives. She gasped, instinctively trying to pull free, only for the shadows to pull her deeper into the swirling mass of darkness. Clara's gaze darted to the children, frozen in place, their eyes mirrors reflecting something unspeakable. Come play with us, they sang again, an eerie harmony laced with dark undercurrents that made the hair on her neck stand on end. They were lying. She could see it now, and instinct pulled the truth from her gut. They were no longer her children, they were empty vessels waiting to be filled. With a surge of defiance, Clara twisted her body, forcing her arms backward, breaking the grasp of a shadow with more ferocity than she knew she possessed. The darkness hissed and recoiled, a sound like 1,000 snakes slithering through the underbrush. No! She screamed again, and this time, she lunged not toward the children, but toward the very tree that had trapped them. Hands scrabbling against bark, she called upon the raw strength of a mother's love, a light that would not waver. Beneath the weight of terror, a glimmer of determination burst forth, but the tree pulsed in response, its bark shifting, splintering into gnarled faces snarling at her. Memories flooded Clara's mind, muddled flashes of Anna's first steps, Sam's laughter under the summer sun. Those were not just images, those were the weapons she'd wield against this darkness. Anna. Sam. You have to fight. Please. Her voice was urgent, straining against the smothering shroud of despair. Remember us. Remember love. Remember. And then the darkness rippled and buckled, shadows swirling violently as if agitated by her words. The air thickened, and cracks of light burst open through the gloom. Clara could feel the resistance from both sides, hers and the woods. But would it be enough? The children's faces flickered, dissolving for moments into panic, moments of clarity battling against their enchanted smiles. Mom, they echoed weakly, voices trembling. Clara took another step, heart pounding, pushing against the shadows that threatened to reclaim them. Please! She yelled. Yet just as hope surged, something dark and grotesque peeked from behind the ancient tree. It was a figure draped in shadows, grinning with wicked glee. Its teeth glistened starkly under the moonlight, a macabre promise of what it could do. Clara took a step back, dread sinking like lead in her stomach. The figure leaned closer, its voice a putrid whisper that scraped along her skin. It's too late, dear Clara. They belong to me now. No! She shouted, as the realization struck her like a sudden chill. She was not merely battling dark tendrils of the forest. She was fighting something far more sinister that sought to steal her children from her very mind. The figure laughed, a sound that curdled the blood in her veins. You think love can save them? You think that fear has no power? As the shadows encircled her, pulling tighter still, Clara realized her fight had just begun. She was not only to save her children, she had to reclaim their very souls from the suffocating grip of the ancient evil reclaiming its feast, and now, with horror looming as the shadow monster slithered closer, Clara could only wonder, how far was she willing to go to save them from this? Dark hunger? The air thickened as the shadow figure loomed larger, its grin an abyss of malevolence. Clara felt the weight of its gaze like a stone pressing upon her chest. It was no longer about rescuing her children, it was a fight for her own essence, the very soul that defined her. With a visceral surge of fear, she tore herself away and faced the darkness, determination igniting a fire in her heart. You won, take them. She screamed, her voice steadying with purpose despite the tremors of panic coursing through her. The children's forms wavered behind the glimmering glow, still caught in the sinister spell. They were shadows of who they used to be, their eyes now dull and lifeless, almost as if they were trapped beneath a thick glass. Clara's heart ached, but anger eclipsed her sorrow. She pressed against the encroaching shadows, focusing on the love she had built through every moment spent with them. Anna. Sam. You have to remember. She cried, the words bursting forth like bullets, each one aimed at piercing through the darkness. Find your way back to me. Fight. The figure snarled, baring its teeth in a grim smile, its voice dripping with disdain. You think memories can break my hold? You are foolish to believe that feelings can alter their fate. They are mine. Clara gritted her teeth, battling against the encompassing shadow that snaked up her legs, pulling her down into the depths of despair. Around her, the forest trembled, a heartbeat of its own, almost like it was alive, feeding off her fear. With each tug, it whispered vile lies, murmuring sweet promises cloaked in dark charm. Let them go. You don't know the bond we share. Her voice echoed, desperate yet insistent, carving through the distortion around her. And then she remembered. The lullabies, the bedtime stories, every hug shared and tear wiped away. These memories became her weapon, brightening against the void. Together, she shouted, her emotions intertwining into a single thread of defiance. We are stronger together. The shadows began to shift. Clara felt a tremor beneath her feet, the shadow figure freezing as if snared in her outburst. For a moment, the children's faces flickered with recognition, beholding their mother. She could see their struggle, Anna's brow furrowing in concentration, Sam glancing between her and the shadows, confused yet yearning for connection. Mom? Sam's voice pierced through the cacophony, a thread of light in the darkness. Each syllable resonated with hope. It felt tangible, like a lifeline thrown into the vast abyss. Fight. Remember who you are. Clara instructed, her voice battle-hardened. The shadows shrieked in rage, the grip around her ankles loosening just slightly, then, out of nowhere, a pulse of warmth surged through her. Clara closed her eyes, focusing. Each heartbeat grew louder, merging into a single rhythm that matched the cadence of her love. She visualized a blinding light flooding from her heart, ripping through the darkness. No! The figure screamed, the sound echoing in an anguished wail that sent shivers crawling up her spine. The shadows buckled as Clara extended her hands toward her children, channeling that fierce maternal love like a beacon. The ground trembled violently, nature's anger rising to protect its own as trees twisted in agony, groaning under the weight of the invasion. Clara opened her eyes, locking them onto her children. Hold on! She shouted, as the light within her grew, shattering the stranglehold of shadows inch by inch, but then, as the light erupted, the figure's shriek intensified, a deafening sound that clawed at her sanity. In that split second, Clara realized the truth: this fight would awaken something far worse than she could ever imagine. Your strength will only make it hungrier. It laughed, each word laced with venom. Clara felt the chill of dread settle deep in her bones as she questioned the price of victory. Was rekindling her children's spirits worth summoning the horrors lurking beyond? No answer came, just a darkness that beckoned, and Clara's resolve began to waver. What if what she feared the most was just beginning? The shadows around Clara writhed, seemingly alive with torment. Every flicker of the figure's grin was a reminder of the darkness it unleashed, a grotesque mockery of her resolve. Her heart raced, thundering against her ribs as dread gnawed deeper into her gut. What if the fight she was waging transformed into a release of a far greater evil? Her love for Anna and Sam acted like a shield. The glow of her light pushed against the shadows, fighting tooth and nail against their oppressive pull. But there was something lurking, something just beyond the veil, eager to break free. The very fabric of the forest seemed to tremble, whispering disjointed confessions of unholy things waiting to be unleashed. Mom! Please! Anna's voice trembled, the edges of it fraying as she appeared almost fully, mirroring a desperate call for life. Clara lunged towards them, her fingers itching to grasp her children, to pull them back from the brink. But with that movement, the dark figure seethed with fury. It lunged forward, its form shifting and rippling like black smoke, darting from the light. You truly think you can save them? The voice echoed, a sickening blend of laughter and grief, filled with promises of despair. They belong to me now. Your attempts are impotent. You will see. Every ounce of light Clara fought to hold on to began to wane under the weight of its words. The words wrapped around her mind, squeezing, suffocating. Behind her, Anna and Sam shimmered in and out, trapped between fleeting clarity and consuming darkness. Anna. Sam. Remember our hikes? Our stories? Clara clutched tight to those moments, images rushing through her like a flood. Focus. Find me. You are more than this. But dread seeped into those memories, clawing at their edges. The children's faces twisted into horror as if they were forgetting more than just moments, they were losing themselves. As the shadows thickened, Clara felt her grasp on reality slipping. Each second stretched into an eternity, a countdown to something far worse than she could imagine. With a sudden trembling thought, she considered if she pushed harder, inadvertently unleashing whatever lay just beneath the darkness. "Help us!" came Sam's whisper, a plea that cut through the noise. His eyes were wide, the flicker of recognition sparking like a dying ember. "I'm trying. I'm right here." The heaviness in her chest morphed into a desperate haze. She surged forward, pouring every ounce of love, every memory she had against the shadow. But it was relentless. It writhed and twisted, the edges of its form lashing out towards her. "No!" Clara gasped as icy fingers gripped her wrist. The chill sent a jolt of pain through her body, sapping her strength. Behind her, the children cried out, the shadows encircling them tighter. Their pleas melded with a cacophony of tormented whispers. In the heart of the forest, Clara felt a surge of something darker. It was the scent of rot and despair, a promise of chaos that clawed its way through the mundanity of her life. What if she unleashed something that wouldn't just consume her children but spread throughout the world? Powerless. "You've done nothing but summon more of my kin." The shadow figure's eyes glimmered as Clara floundered in the weight of those words, each syllable a nail driving deeper into her heart. Just then, in a flash of blinding light, she felt the presence of the forest animals, the rustle of leaves, the pounding of great wings. Something ancient had awakened. For an instant, Clara's heart leaped. Was it hope? Or was it yet another trap designed to lure her deeper into despair? The ground quaked, a deep growl emanating from the shadows. "You think you can stand against them? What remains is beyond your understanding." Clara's breath quickened. Faces of monstrous things swirled in the dark, taunting her with every heartbeat. What had she unwittingly awakened? As the forest fell silent once more, she felt as if a terrible storm was only just beginning to roll in, darker than the thoughts that occupied her mind. In that moment of sublime horror, she faced the tightening shadows, foreboding weight pressing against her. She understood now what she fought was just a preview. What nightmare awaited around the bend? Clara stood frozen, the shadows pulsating around her like a living nightmare. Her mind screamed for a way out, but the dark entity held her in its icy grip. Every whisper from the shadows felt like a dagger, tearing through her hope. "What remains beyond your understanding?" it taunted, voice oozing with malice. The ground shook violently, snapping her back to reality. Leaves rustled, and instinct told her the ancient presence she had sensed was gathering. She peered into the dark, her heart pounding as she felt the air grow heavier, suffocating. What was awakening? "Mom!" Anna's voice broke her reverie, thin and fragile, echoing with desperation. But Clara barely heard it, focused on the flickering shadows. The moment Anna and Sam had been in her grasp felt like a dream, now drifted further away. Every attempt to summon their strength seemed like striking a match in a hurricane. "Remember the places we went?" Clara cried out, voice trembling. "The river? The soft moss? Please. You have to fight." The dark figure began to swell, feeding off her desperation. "Foolish woman!" it roared, its voice a cacophony of suffering. "They are already mine." All those moments fade like whispers in the night. As dread swept over her, Charlotte felt the heat of rage boiling within. She had held on a little too long, the fear twisted into something primal. With one last surge of determination, she focused every ounce of maternal love she had, each bright moment she had shared with her children. The warmth of their laughter, the joy in their eyes as they clambered up trees, reached out to nature. But in that moment, a new darkness flickered in the corners of her eye. Something less formless than the shadows, something sinister, emerged from the depths of the trees, a hulking creature, eyes glowing like coals in the night. The air became electric, crackling with tension as it loomed closer, forcing Clara to gasp. The shadows writhed, but this was something tangible. "Mom, help!" Sam's voice was mere air now, as if his very essence was getting scraped away, and the figure's intent looked to make the most of it. She felt sick with anxiety, the ground beneath her felt like quicksand. "Stop this!" she shouted, her voice cracking like a whip through the dark. "You can't take them. They are mine." With every word, the rectangle of light slipped around her, barely hanging on against the swelling shadows and the looming creature. Clara could see now it wore the guise of a defiled guardian, its twisted form a grotesque mimicry of the protectors she thought would defend her. All that was sacred lay corrupted, panic began to riot in her chest, pulses of fear rippling beneath her skin. "Choose." Its whisper echoed, half voice, half growl. "What will you sacrifice to save them? A mother's love or the very essence of their being?" "No!" Clara shouted, her heart racing as the gravity of his words sank in. "You can't take away my light." She could lose everything, and yet, the terrifying question churned like ice in her veins. What if the cost of saving her children was too horrid to bear? As the shadows danced closer, the creature's eyes flared, the promise of something far worse than mere capture lurking behind them. Clara felt a shift, the world twisting around them as if the very forest were alive, squirming in anticipation of their despair. "Make your choice." It roared, the command vibrating through her bones. Her mind raced. If she chose to unleash her love, might she unveil too much? If she held back, would they all drown in darkness? The walls of time cracked open around her, throbbing with an urgency that threatened to shatter her resolve. Just then, a low rumble echoed across the forest, shaking the branches above like an omen. Shadows shrieked and retreated momentarily, a fear of potential consequence shimmering through the night air. The light wasn't gone after all. But what would it reveal? As the creature's gaze bore into her, Clara prepared herself for the choice she dreaded. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, something unnameable creeping closer, lurking just beyond the edge of her vision. What if in this choice, she unleashed a horror beyond her imagination? The dark pulse solidified around her, clenching her throat like a noose. What would she do next? Clara's breath hitched as she felt the ground shake again, rippling like a pond disturbed by a falling stone. The shadows pulsed like a living thing, hungry and insatiable. She could sense an unseen force at play, a tide of dread sweeping over her, threatening to swallow her whole. "Anna! Sam!" she called, desperation flooding her voice as she strained to hear even a whisper from her children. Their silence pierced deeper than the darkness around her. The hulking creature inched closer, its eyes burning with malice. A low growl resonated within its twisted form, a sound that dripped with the promise of torture. The air grew heavier, pressing down on Clara's chest. She could feel the heartbeat of the forest, thundering in tandem with her own, each pulse a reminder of her dwindling time. "Mom," that thin, fragile voice drifted again, barely a breath, fraying her resolve. It was almost lost among the whispers that twisted around her ears, dark and insidious. "Help us fight. You have to fight," Clara cried, her voice cracking. What if she lost them? Panic clawed at her, gnawing ravenously. The specter had to be lying, right? Her children couldn't be engulfed by darkness. They couldn't be gone. She clamped her hands over her ears, trying to drown out the growing pleas mingled with laughter that turned sickening and false, ghostly echoes of joy twisted into mockery. The shadows seemed to dance closer still, each step seeping warmth from her soul. The creature, now almost upon her, let loose a triumphant snarl. "Choose," it hissed. "Love or existence? What will you sacrifice?" Each word sent jolts of fear through her, shockwaves echoing deep within her bones. Her heart thudded painfully as if urging her to decide, to fight. But for whom? For what? Clara felt the shadows coiling around her ankles, nipping like cold fingers. The air suddenly felt thick with potential darkness, resonant and ominous, like the moment before a summer storm. Then, a memory struck her, a snapshot of unyielding joy. Her children, spinning in the air, laughter ringing clear as a bell, innocence untouched. "Fight with me!" Clara screamed into the void, desperation morphing into fierce defiance. At that second, the rumbling grew louder, thrumming beneath the surface of the earth. The shadows quivered, and in that instant of vulnerability, she seized it. She summoned every moment of love, every joy, and every heartbeat shared with Anna and Sam, a flickering beacon against the oppressive black. "Your darkness can't have them!" Clara roared, unleashing the onslaught of cherished memories. With each realization, the shadows recoiled, the ground beneath her unsteady but alive. Clara felt a warmth radiate from within, washing over her like a shield. For a fleeting moment, the creature's glee faltered, uncertainty flashing across its grotesque face, but the hesitation was short-lived. It shrieked in rage, a sound that sent a tremor through her. "You would sacrifice your essence for them?" It taunted her, voice rising to a fever pitch. "Let us see how far this light can stretch." The forest trembled as an unholy energy surged into existence. The pulse of the shadows intensified, creeping towards her like a hungry serpent. She looked beyond, straining to see her children in the dimness, to anchor herself in their presence. "Clara!" Anna cried again, her voice now more fervent, more alive. "We're here." But as Clara focused, chasing the glimmer of sound, the very shadows erupted, dark tendrils flinging out like claws, colliding with the warmth she had conjured. Everything blurred into chaos, loss and hope clashed in a dizzying spiral. "No!" Clara screamed as she felt the darkness lunge at her, rushing toward her light. The fear battered her, cold and blinding. Then, the ground below her feet cracked open, revealing an abyss that yawned wide, beckoning her toward infinite darkness. Clara stumbled back, heart racing, brain screaming with raw terror. What lay below? Would she be the one to slip into the void? What would she have to do to keep her children safe? The shadows danced around her, swirling with chaotic glee. And in that moment of desperation, Clara realized she had yet to uncover the secrets buried beneath. She took a breath, preparing to plunge into the unknown. What lay waiting for her in the darkness? Clara's heart thundered in her chest as she peered into the abyss. The darkness seemed to ripple, almost alive, whispering her name with 1,000 voices that flickered in and out of her grasp. She took a hesitant step forward, drawn by a force that felt both terrifying and alluring. With her resolve trembling, Clara felt the shadows pull at her mind, offering unsettling promises. "Join us, join your children," the voices echoed, seductive yet sinister, intertwining her fear and yearning. "Anna! Sam!" she shouted desperately, spinning toward where she had last heard their voices. The air grew colder, each breath slicing through her like ice. The creature loomed nearby, its shape indistinct in the hazy darkness, but she sensed its presence like a weight pressing against her. As the abyss gaped wider, Clara's thoughts scrambled. Was it worth it? To plunge into that void? To risk her very soul for the faint whisper of her children? Just as she was about to step closer, a sharp scream split the oppressive air, an anguished wail that jolted her senses. "Mom! Help!" The familiar voice sent a jolt of energy through her. She spun again, eyes straining against the abyss, searching for her children. "Where are you? I'll find you!" Clara screamed, surging with newfound determination, even as the creature's laughter echoed like thunder around her. Shadows coiled around her legs, but she pushed through the oppressive weight, raising her hands toward the darkness. "Leave them alone!" she shouted, her voice a fierce battle cry against the cacophony of chaos. "I will not let you take them." A flicker of light burst from her heart, illuminating the gloom like a firecracker in the night. The shadows recoiled, hissing softly as if stung. Clara could feel the warmth separate her from the cold tendrils creeping toward her. But in that moment of defiance, she caught a glimpse brief, fleeting of her children behind the creature. Their faces pale, eyes wide with terror. They were trapped. No! Anna! Sam! Clara cried again, fighting through the thickening gloom. She took a step toward them, and an unseen force yanked back with bone-crushing pressure. The creature's form twisted, its gnarled hands outstretched, fingers curling as if ready to consume her light. "You cannot save them," it snarled, its voice like gravel crunching underfoot. "You can barely save yourself." The shadows writhed, grasping at her like hungry specters. They begged and pleaded with the soft, coaxing voices of Anna and Sam, promising they could be free if only she would relinquish the fight. "Clara, please." Anna's voice wavered, still so fragile. Clara faltered, uncertainty clawing at her resolve. What if Anna was right? What if her fight led to ruin, to darkness consuming everything she loved? "No!" she yelled, shaking her head vigorously. "You fight back. You hold on to our light." She poured every ounce of love into her voice, desperate. The shadows surged, filling every inch of her vision, threatening to drown her in despair. But Clara remembered the laughter, the times they had danced with joy under the stars, the warmth of family dinners, the simple bliss of a summer's day. Suddenly, an idea sparked, a glimmer of hope. With a fierce breath, she began to chant the family names: Anna, Sam. We are together. Always together. With each name, the shadows absorbed a bit more of the light, losing their grip on her, dwindling into nothingness. But just as victory seemed near, the shadows convulsed violently, swirling and pulsating as they screamed in fury. "You think you can escape? You know not what lies beneath." With a thunderous roar, a burst of darkness exploded from the abyss, a tide of sorrow and rage washing over Clara, dragging her toward the opening. Clara gasped, heart pounding, glancing one last time toward the glimmers of her children. "I will save you," she screamed against the approaching dark. But as the shadows surged once more, she was pulled closer to the edge of the void, their whispers echoing in her mind. What lay beyond? Would she be able to save them, or would they all be consumed in the struggle? Holding tight to their flickering essence, she felt the ground break further, and the shadows closed in. Would she defy the darkness, or would she embrace the threat lurking below? Clara felt the abyss beckon her, a viscous embrace of fear threatening to swallow her whole. She took a frantic step back from the precipice, heart pounding, desperate to hold on to the faint glimmers of Anna and Sam on the other side. "Together, we're strong," she shouted, though the shadows seemed to laugh at her defiance, mocking her as they writhed in anticipation. The creature's presence loomed larger, its twisted grin wordless but pregnant with malice. "You think their love will protect them?" it hissed, voice dripping with contempt. "You know not the depths of my hunger. They are bait, lured into my trap, and you? You will feed me." Clara felt sick to her stomach, the weight of despair coaxing her into submission. But she couldn't give in, not when Anna and Sam needed her. Every hug, every bedtime story swirled in her mind, and with that warmth came a resolve that had fled her moments before. "No!" she screamed, clenching her fists. "You won't take my children, and you won't have me either." A surge of light exploded from deep inside her, pulsing like a heartbeat. The glimmer of hope lifted her spirit, and she felt her courage fuel a growing flame. She steadied her breath, centering herself in that love. "Anna! Sam!" she cried again, her voice strong. "You are not lost. You're with me. Fight!" Her words cut through the murky veil of shadows, coiling tighter around her but beginning to loosen their grip on the children. The spectre shrieked, its shadowy form trembling and contorting in response to Clara's light, but the darkness clawed back, feeding on her uncertainty. "You are too late, dear Clara, their souls are bound to mine," it hissed. Clara clung to her children's faces in her mind, their laughter, their joy. "I won't let you take them," she shouted, forcing the light to break from her heart into a radiant stream that pushed against the encroaching dark. The air crackled with energy, the forest seemed to shudder in anticipation, waiting. With every name she called, a flare of light shot forth. "Anna!" she cried, and light pierced the gloom, a shimmering thread that reached toward her daughter. "Sam!" The darkness shrieked, and Clara felt it straining, pushing against her, testing her resolve. The creature's grin faltered momentarily, but Clara knew it wouldn't yield easily. "You think you've won? This darkness has existed long before your kind, and it will endure long after you're gone. They belong to me." It bellowed, fury spilling over into the shadows which snarled, relentless. "You don't understand," Clara shouted. "Love isn't a weakness. It's a force." As she spoke, the light swelled around her, thrumming as if the forest itself responded, lending strength to her fight. With each heartbeat, Clara felt the shadows weaken. "You win this time," she breathed, determination swelling inside of her. "You will not feast on my children's fear. You will face the light of our love." The shadows twisted and screamed, recoiling as they crumbled into the brilliance radiating from Clara's heart. She pushed forward, embracing the flickering essence of her children amid the blinding glow. "Hold on to the light," Clara intoned, watching as the darkness trembled beneath her fury. In that moment, time suspended, shadows fluttering like leaves caught in a tempest. The creature shattered, its form dissolving into a rush of swirling vapor as Clara's glowing energy swallowed everything around her. Anna and Sam's faces emerged through the chaos, their eyes sparkling, their giggles erupting like the sun-breaking dawn. "Mom! We're coming!" They reached out, and Clara surged forward, grasping their hands as her heart soared. Just like that, the dark was lifted. The forest shuddered, trees standing taller, and an overwhelming silence fell over the night, a sacred stillness where shadows had once lurked. Clara hugged her children tightly, feeling their warmth envelop her. "I'm here. We're together." With the darkness gone, the spectral figure faded into a soft ether. Clara looked around, noticing how the carved markings on the trees dimmed into mere remnants, the forest no longer alive with menace but welcoming in its quiet beauty. "Never again," she whispered, squeezing her children, holding them tightly. The weight of fear had lifted, replaced by the gentle purity of love. "We will always stand together." They turned to head back home, laughter breaking the silence as they stepped into the dawn's warm embrace. Clara held their hands with fierce gratitude, each step banishing the nightmares that had once haunted them. "Mom," Anna said, her voice bright, "can we go back out to the woods?" Clara paused, a smile forming, but she shook her head. "We'll make new memories, away from those shadows. Together." As they walked home, Clara cherished the bond, a light forged in hardship and strengthened by love, an inseparable unity against whatever darkness might come again. The Appalachian air held the faintest hint of dawn, a promise of new beginnings resting on the horizon. It was time to embrace the light with open arms, and you don't want to miss out on more stories like this. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive tales that will chill you to the bone. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. It seriously makes a difference. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense ending, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us spread the light together.